Hello there, people. Thank you for being with us today and welcome to This is Church. On our Facebook page, we uploaded a section where we actually mentioned the fact that being delivered is different from being free. See, being delivered is different from being free. And one of our production crew here asked that we elaborate on that further, that we actually make a video on that one. So we will be speaking about that today. You know, there are a lot of stories, of course, that we can mention to emphasize the point of deliverance and being free. But again, I would like us to just go to the Bible, one of the most famous books. So there's a story in the Bible of which I know that most of us already know this. See, so in the Bible, there's a story about the nation of Israel. So the nation of Israel were taken captive to the land of Egypt. So they spent there more than 400 years in captive. So one day, then God appeared to one of the children of Israel, which was Moses at that time, who grew up in the palace of Egypt. And then God said, I send you to deliver my people. I will send you to deliver my people. And of course, Moses asked a lot of things to God to confirm and to show him that he is actually choosing him and that God is powerful enough to help him through Pharaoh and the whole nation of Egypt. And so Moses went back there to the land of Egypt and took the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt. And there he accomplished his task, which was to deliver the children of Israel. Now, again, the request that was made that we do this video was, can we now separate between deliverance and freedom? Is it different? And if it is, how is it different? So look, now the children of Israel were taken out of Egypt. They were delivered. They were taken out of the land of Egypt. They were physically taken out of the land, But as the story goes in the Bible, God says to Moses, I will kill this generation, all of them, and the people who will enter on the land of Canaan will be a new generation. And God mentioned the fact that the reason why he will do this, it's because they do not believe. See, it's because that generation didn't believe. So although they were delivered from the land of Egypt, still they were not free on their minds. There was a section there in the Bible where they came across the Red Sea. Most of us are aware of this. So they came across the Red Sea. And when they saw that the sea was there in front of them and the Egyptians were there behind them, they thought, we are going to die. And they also said to Moses, why did you bring us here to die? And that is just a sign of how unbelieving they were. To say believe is actually pointing at the mind, because it's a mind thing. To believe is to be convinced. To be convinced is to be won over in the mind. So if we are arguing between something or trying to see which one is correct between two people, one can actually win the conversation by convincing the other, by his rightness or through the fact that the person is using. So the one person will have incorrect information and the one will have correct information. And probably the one who has correct information will be able to convince the one who has incorrect information or no information at all. So conviction is what we call believing. It's happening in the mind, not in the physical body. And also, when they were hungry, the children of Israel, they were in the wilderness for 40 years. When they were hungry, they said to Moses, why did you bring us here for us to be hungry until we die? Look, we would prefer that you go back to Egypt there we were able to eat something. We were able to eat the onions. That's what they said. But now you have brought us here to die. So although they were delivered from the land of Egypt, they were still slaves through their mind. Because the body doesn't control the mind. You see, it is the mind that controls the body. Now, deliverers are people who are able to take you physically out of oppression, like Nelson Mandela did, you see. And also in the story of Moses, the story of the children of Israel, it was Moses. There are a lot of cases where we find these scenarios. And also in Bahamas, it was, I forgot this guy's name, but we have different deliverers depending on the section of the place or the country itself. And of course, one of our own here in South Africa was Nelson Mandela. So they were able to deliver us from oppression. But that doesn't mean we were free. That is not freedom. That is just deliverance. You see, now we are no longer having to be abused because of the color of our skin, physically. Although there are some cases where people are still doing that because mentally they themselves are not free. And also sometimes a black person might think a white person is better. That also tells you that even that black person isn't free in the mind. So although we are delivered, the most difficult thing though is to bring people to freedom. Look, to show you how difficult it is, I know some people may think, no, but now it's easy, I've heard this in many sectors and churches, they talk a lot about deliverance, it's time for deliverance, it's time for deliverance. But they do not mention the time to be free, because deliverance is pretty simple. It can take a couple of minutes, it can take hours, it can take a couple of days, but to be actually free, it takes a whole lot of time. It takes years and years. Again, the reason why the children of Israel, those who were old, were not able to enter into the land of Canaan, the promised land, God said it's because they did not believe. It's because they are not free in their minds. They were not able, they weren't convinced by God. So still they were convinced by the land of Egypt that they are nothing. There was one time again where they went to the land of Canaan, where God promised them it will be their own. They sent 12 spies. You see, so these people went there to that land they were going to search and to see how beautiful it is, or in the state of the country and the people, And then when they came back, 10 of the 12 said, we will not be able to enter into this country. We cannot compare ourselves with the people of that country, because to enter into that country, they had to fight those people of that country and win that nation and make it their own. But the 10 of those 12, they said, we cannot do it. Those people, they have giants. That's what they said. They saw the people of Canaan as giants. They said, we are just like grasshoppers to them, But then 2 of those guys, they actually said, no, that is the promised land, and we will win against them because we have God. And what God did, those 10 who said they cannot win that fight against the people of the land of Canaan, God did not allow them to enter into Canaan. God allowed them to die before the children of Israel will enter into the land of Canaan. And all of those who were agreeing with the 10, of which there were a lot of people who were agreeing with the 10, they all died. Only the 2 from the 12, and also a new generation, until a new generation was born, they couldn't reach the land of Canaan, not because God wanted to kill them, but actually because they were not free in their minds. So they wanted freedom, they wanted a free country without being free. You see, it's like putting a slave to be a king. It's like putting an ignorant person to be a teacher. You are just destroying things. You see, so it had to be people who didn't experience slavery. Because slavery and oppression as it happened also in our country here, uh, is that it's not just a matter of physical abuse or physical oppression. The most targeted one is the oppression of the mind. That's what they target, not the physical body, not the physical sweat or abuse. That is just a part of it, because to be delivered from there, it's pretty easy. Like we also in this country, we are delivered from there. But to be free, we're definitely not free, because if people who are free are not able to live freely, then how can you call that freedom? You see, if people, they are still in debt, they are not able to do what they wish they would be doing at this time, they cannot attain their goals, they cannot reach their goals or the milestone that they have set for themselves. There's a lot of things that limit people to be able to do things, but they call themselves free. You see, so we were actually delivered from oppression. We were actually delivered from apartheid, but we were not freed from it. And that is the biggest part, and that's the biggest mistake that people make. I grew up in an environment where actually I actually prefer my kids not to grow up at. I would make sure that my kids do not grow up in that environment. Simply because the people who are there, they are still oppressed. Mental wise, they are still oppressed. Although they are free, they think they do whatever they like, they actually cannot, because there are things that they are limited to do. There are things that they cannot reach. There are wishes that they have, but they cannot do anything about them, because although they wish, in their minds they are still oppressed. They still feel insignificant. They still feel small, insufficient. So deliverance is an easy thing. Deliverance is what Moses did. But even Moses himself couldn't enter into Canaan because he wasn't free. You see, Nelson Mandela delivered us, but still freedom hasn't been attained. I've seen a statement in Facebook. One guy wrote, "It is not yet uhuru." Uhuru means freedom, and he was telling the truth. You see, although we are delivered from the physical abuse or physical oppression, but being free is a different thing. Being free is the one that is the most difficult, and the one that takes a whole lot of time than deliverance. There are a lot of things that you yourself can refer to. I've recognized just a couple of years back, on my own experience, that I had a problem with white people. You see, not a problem as if I hated them, but before I felt insignificant. I felt small whenever a white person was around me. This is because I was taught that way, not because I lived in a time of apartheid, but I grew up in an environment of people who grew up on oppression. So they were oppressed. Although they were delivered, they were not free. So they took what they had, which is oppression, and taught also to me. And I grew up with that. You see, until I realized that what also I was doing was being, one, racist, and secondly, was being under the oppression. An oppression that I didn't even experience, but it was given to me. I was taught oppression, and I was put in that position. So being delivered is the easiest thing of the two. Freedom takes time. Freedom is a different thing. Freedom is on a different dimension. I to just give you a scenario, which is of course will be hilarious to hear. At schools we have classrooms, right? We have classrooms. So we have classrooms dedicated to different grades. You see, so they say this classroom is for grade 1, this classroom is for another grade, grade 2, let's say grade 3. So when you go there at grade 1, maybe you are with your mother, your father, or any person who will be bringing you to school. And then they bring you to the class, and then you go to the class, and then it's fine. You start to learn and learn and learn. You might have a chance to move from the classroom you're at, maybe during lunch hours or whatever, but move from the classroom that is dedicated to grade 1 and move to a classroom that is dedicated to grade 2. But that doesn't mean that you are studying there. That doesn't mean that you are on a level of grade 2. You just moved positions. You just moved the locations. So you moved physically from the grade 1 classroom to the grade 2 classroom. But that doesn't make you sufficient to be a grade 2 student. What I'm implying here is, although you might be delivered, that doesn't mean that you are free. Freedom is a different thing. Being delivered is just a move of location. You move from here to here. You move from here to here. You know, maybe we move that so that you won't be oppressed. Maybe we take that person away from you so that you won't be abused. But after that, you are left with your mental oppression. You are left with the mind that is now in problem, the mind that is now in trouble. You know, that is why Paul also wrote, look, he said, let your body be transformed by the renewal of your mind. Let your body be transformed by the renewal of your mind. You understand, there are a lot of people, of course, who are transforming their bodies themselves, you know. I'm talking about putting makeup or putting plastic surgery, whatever it is. So they transform their bodies, but then they still are the same person, you know. Unless this change, you are not free. This must change. This must be free. This must not be oppressed. So running away from one place to another, it won't help if your mind won't change. All right? So deliverance is easy. Deliverance can be done in a couple of minutes, couple of seconds. You know, moving location, it's all about moving location. As like the children of Israel, they were moved from Egypt and they were sent to the land of Canaan. But even then, what God said, there was a way where they would be able to take 40 days to reach the land of Canaan, if I'm not mistaken. So they could get out of Egypt and go to the land of Canaan within 40 days, you know. But what actually God did, he made them to travel a way that will take them 40 years, right? Now you see, being delivered was the easy part. Moses was just doing his thing there, throwing his rod, turning to a snake, doing things, you know. That took a couple of weeks probably, and then Pharaoh allowed them to go out from Egypt. You know, he let them go. But after then, God took over. You see, to let them go, it was the work of Moses. He did his thing, and they allowed him to take the people of Israel and move out. But freedom was the place of God. Freedom is so important that God takes place. And again, what happened is he didn't allow them to take the easy routes. He didn't allow them to take the routes that would take them 40 days. He actually made them to take a route that would take them 40 years. Because to change the mind, that's how long it could take. It takes a generation to change the mindset, the mentality, you know. And right now, of course, we ourselves are a different generation from the older one, and they themselves think we are probably have they think we have problems. They think we don't understand some other things, you know. So they have a problem because we come with a different mindset. They want to give us the old mindsets, you see. But now it's a different generation. It means different mindset, you see. So God allowed the children of Israel who were on slavery to die in the midst of those 40 years, so that a new generation will come, a new generation that was free, a new generation that did not know the oppression, not just the physical oppression, but the mental oppression. All right? An oppressor is not there to just oppress you physically. The most targeted parts the oppressor targets is your mind. So yes, it's not yet uhuru. Just because you think you're doing whatever you like, of which you are not. Also, your thoughts are part of things that you see around you. You know, most people, they do not have control over their thoughts. You see, it's because you are oppressed. Now, freedom is different. Being delivered, it's free. Stop shouting for deliverance. Deliverance is free. Freedom is what you need. Know free person can be kept down. No free person can be kept down. Physically, emotionally, spiritually, especially the emotional part. They may deny you things physically, but emotionally you are strong because you are free. And remember, everything will be attracted to the energy that you give. So if you give an oppressed energy that you are beneath, that you are underneath, that you are insufficient and you do not deserve things, that energy will attract things that go according to those thoughts. See, freedom is different from deliverance. And I'm glad to say we here address that issue. Whatever we speak about, it's not about deliverance, it's about freedom. That's why we emphasize the point that you should keep on listening, keep on listening. Even if there isn't anything uploaded that is new, review what we have been taught. That is how you get taught. You repeat the same thing, you repeat the same thing, you repeat the same thing. You know, God said to Joshua, this book of the law should not depart from your mouth. Meditate on it day and night. You see, so it's about repetition. Repetition. Meditation is about repetition. So you repeat the same thing, you repeat the same thing, you repeat the same thing. And that is why Joshua was the free person. He is the one who took the new generation into the land of Canaan, the land of freedom. All those who couldn't do that, they died in wilderness. Most people, they lose, not because they are not delivered. They lose in life because they are not free. They still think they are undeserving. They know incorrect things. They still think they are beneath. And so they attract what their energy produces. Freedom is what we are here about. That is what we are here about. Make sure to tune again on our next video as we proceed with this topic. Thank you for being with us today, and this is church.
Thank you for watching. To view the complete videos, go to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/Renewed Society. And to interact more with us, visit our Facebook page at Renewed Society. This is Church.